Okay guys, as promised, we're going to talk about driver. There's a couple things that are really interesting about driver to me. It's the club in our bag that's supposed to go the farthest, so we definitely would want to have our most powerful impact alignments with this club, but it's very, very uncommon to see really powerful impact alignments with, even like 5 handicap and up. We really only see the best impact alignments with driver with the guys on tour. So why is that? It seems like we should be aiming to get to a certain place with driver and just nobody is seeming to be able to do it. The reason is because when the ball's on the ground, it already predetermines us to have a slight chance at having solid impact alignments. And the reason that is because when the ball's on the ground, we have to have our club coming slightly down. The ball's going to be more in the middle of our stance, if anything. And so that already kind of predicts or helps us to have maybe a little bit of forward shaft lean. And forward shaft lean really just is a solid impact alignment for baseball, tennis, anything else. If you want to hit the ball hard, you'd hit it with that impact alignment. So when it comes to the driver, the reason we don't get that impact alignment easily, and most players really have a hard time getting it, is because the ball's up on a tee and it's up in the front of our stance. Now it needs to be up in the front of our stance, and it's not a bad thing that it's up on a tee, but if that's the case, we still have to find a way to get that really powerful impact alignment. So that leads us to the setup in the square-to-square swing with driver. And so most of you guys are familiar with this, but I'm going to go through the keys. We still have our brace trail leg, meaning that our trail foot is blocked, so we're not going to slide back. But we set up with, when we set up with a preset of this powerful alignment, see what would happen if I went up to the ball with that preset and I didn't change anything in my spine angle. If I got that preset to line up to the ball, now I would have an extreme out to in path and a pretty downward angle of attack, and that's not ideal for driver, right? And it's not ideal for anything really to be out to in and extremely down. So the way I offset that is by shifting my spine and tilting my spine. Now this picture that you're seeing right here, these angles, a line down my left arm and some angle between my left arm and the shaft, and a spine angle that's tilted back, and a head that's well behind the ball, that's what we see with every tour player. And the longer the tour player is, the longer and more accurate the tour player is, the more we see these angles. Really, left arm, Dustin Johnson's left arm goes way out here, club shaft goes straight down to the ball. All the longest and straight players will have those alignments. So that's why we set up that way. We set up with, again, this impact alignment that's really powerful and really strong. And then in order to have that work, we offset it with a little bit of adjustment with our spine tilt. So as I do this was like normal iron setup, try to move it up to driver. Now my shoulders are way open. So I need to offset that, and I'm going to offset that by shifting my hips around, shifting my weight around. So now a lot of people will see my setup and say, wow, you've got a lot of weight on your front foot. And I do feel that pressure in my front foot. But the first thing that happens when I take the club back is I turn my shoulders back, I feel the pressure go from off my front foot and into my trail foot. It doesn't mean I'm going to shift all of my weight off, and it doesn't mean I'm going to slide back. It just means that the pressures are going to go from kind of where I feel a little bit on my lead side, rolling around and arcing around into my trail foot, and as I get to the top of my backswing, I feel a lot of torqued up pressure on my trail foot. I wouldn't have that torque if I let my weight shift to the outside part of my trail foot. So the main things I want you guys to understand when it comes to driver, this is supposed to be our most powerful club. It doesn't make any sense that some of my students, when they first start learning how to hit the ball with a forward low point and forward shaft lean with an 8 iron or 7 iron, start hitting it 25 or 30 yards farther, but then when it comes to the driver, they can't match that up. It wouldn't make sense if we didn't understand what was happening. So we need to aim for these alignments at impact, and because those are the most effective alignments that we see out of any golfer. And if anybody needs to get the most out of their swing, it's amateurs and it's players who aren't PGA Tour players. So we need to aim for these alignments at impact. And so getting us set up there at address is a great way to preset that that's our goal. So really, that's the biggest thing I want you guys to understand. For the drill, you don't necessarily need a ball, although a ball's pretty helpful, but you do need a mirror or some way to see yourself. And it's interesting, as I'm in here and I'm setting up with these alignments, I have a big screen TV there behind the camera, and I'm actually, I'm catching myself reference that reflection, because it's so valuable to see the reflection to know what you're actually doing. So let's get set up in front of a mirror, hopefully in a place where your backswing is not going to knock a lamp off a table or go through a wall. But let's get set up in front of a mirror, and let's check to see if we have these really powerful impact alignments at address. That's the first checkpoint. So we want to make sure we've got this really strong, powerful alignments in our arms and hands and with the club. And then let's make sure that our shoulders are still square or neutral relative to the target. Let's make sure that our spine is tilted back and our head is back behind the ball. And let's make sure that our trail foot is braced. And then we just want to start feeling what it feels like to move through impact with those alignments. I think you'll see right away, the very first thing you'll see right away is that with just a shoulder turn, the club's going to be going back on a slightly inside arc. So that's going to promote way less of a slice. It's actually, if you're doing this properly, it's really difficult to hit a slice, and we can get more into why that's a good thing later. But the main things we want to see are that at setup, we've got these powerful impact alignments. The upper body is torqued or tweaked so that the shoulders are still square relative to the target, and the head is back behind the ball. And then we're just going to make some shoulder turns back and through, and pay attention or notice what's happening with that club head. We're definitely not going to be using our hands or wrists or flipping or hinging or anything in this move. Just turning our shoulders back, turning through, turning back, turning through, and seeing what's happening to that club head as it travels in to out on a really natural in to out path with a square club face. All right, guys, I really would love to see you attempting to perform these positions. I think this is one of the most challenging things, as I've said before, but it shouldn't be, and I don't want it to be. I want you guys to be just as good with your drivers as you are with everything else. So a lot of times I will say that just practicing with your shorter clubs will improve your driver swing because of what I mentioned earlier about the natural tendency to want, or for the shorter clubs to naturally kind of get us into forward shaft lean. But at some point, understanding how driver works is really critical if we're going to be a really, really good, long and accurate driver of the ball. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and happy golfing.